Welcome to No Such Thing as Normal podcast with Natalie Hayes and Jess McKeown.
This is a casual podcast where we talk about all of the things you're not supposed to talk about in order to help you normalize your real life. Because really, we're all just a bunch of weirdos having a completely human experience in a society that asks us to pretend like we're not.
And I'm your host, Jess, a gifted spirit baby medium who facilitates deep soul healing by channeling divine messages.
And I'm your other host, Natalie, an intuitive and transformative life coach.
Be sure to subscribe where you listen to podcasts, watch our 100% unedited episodes on YouTube, and you can also follow us on IG at McJaguar and at Intuitive Natalie for more weirdo and woo-woo content.
Yes, and if you like this episode, please be sure to rate and review and share it on social media so that more people can unleash their weird with you.
Woo! So I was listening to some old episodes because I do that.
Yeah.
Because I like us too.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do we mean by casual podcast? And it made me laugh so hard because I was like, yeah, it's like, we don't take it so seriously. And, you know, we're just like having fun. But I mean, what are the other podcasts not doing that?
Well, we're like recording on Zoom. We're not recording in a studio. I don't wear makeup to record. Like, I'm not getting ready. This is so casual. This is like, it's coffee chat. This is all coffee chat.
Yeah. Oh, I see. So we could, like, once we become professional, then we'll change our intro.
I don't know if we'll ever get to that point.
I don't think we will.
I prefer this.
Yes, me too. And I think that's why we get along, is because we both prefer the casual.
Very chill. Come as you are. I don't care.
And today, boys and girls, ghosts and goblins.
Yes.
What do they say? Like girls and ghouls and boys.
I'm not sure. Sure.
I can't think of anything cute. We're going to talk about ghosts
today. Yes, ghosts
and Halloween. And we're going to talk about protecting yourself around spirits.
Yeah. All the stuff, hauntings, all of that. We've got a couple personal anecdotes.
We do. I know. I teased it last episode that I have a really good ghost story, and you lived in a haunted house.
So fun.
Is it really like, did the like cupboard doors open and stuff?
It wasn't like what they call that PK energy. It wasn't it wasn't that. We'll get into it. Should we just get into it now, or do we?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. I want to hear. I'm like, yeah.
Okay. So we'll just dive in. Buckle up.
We're gonna start.
And put my story voice.
Story.
Oh, I wish we could. We don't own the rights to any music, so we can't put that like spooky, scary skeleton song in here. It would be so good.
Just like that one. Just like, if you watch the YouTube, my skeleton game is amazing.
It's so good. Watch it.
I kind of want to get one of those Halloween costumes that are all skeletons that are like glow in the dark, and then you like look like a skeleton.
Absolutely.
But like just for fun.
Just to wear, just on the podcast while recording the podcast. I like to wear my skeleton suit, please.
I should have dressed up today.
We should have, because this is coming out the Monday of the week of Halloween. So
yeah, it's coming out on All Souls Day.
What is that?
It's the day after Halloween.
No, that's the next week. This is coming out next Monday. We're doing an episode on sex that's coming out on All Souls Day.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, right. Oh my gosh. Sorry to disappoint folks. Okay, back to ghost stories.
Okay, ghost stories. Did you ever watch? I don't know if this is just me showing my age. Did you ever watch like Are You Afraid of the Dark? On Nick at
Is
Night?
That R.L. Stein? I was a little bit older.
I think you were a little bit older.
I was beyond Nick at Night at that point, but yes, I did watch some Nickelodeon. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. That was a little young for me.
That was me.
But people were like into it. And people were like, oh, it made people read.
Yes. It made people read. Maybe this is why millennials are like all about the murder podcasts and stuff. Like it all started with Goosebumps.
I was just thinking about that because I think there is like a Goosebump-esque thing on Netflix. And when I was looking to watch something last night, it was like murder, like everything. I was like, is there any like unicorns and sunshine shows? No.
Like, why are we all so obsessed as a society with like all of this gory murder, awful stuff? I don't like watching that stuff. I don't like listening to that stuff. We just took a trip to Montana for one of my best friend's weddings, and the whole way there, like Jenna likes murder podcasts.
Ooh.
I think you told her in a past life that she was like this crazy serial killer. And like, I could actually see that about her. Like, I feel like she has potential.
Oh my God.
So she listens to murder podcasts. And I don't really like them, but we listened to this one. I really like Up and Vanished. They're actually doing a season. This season is about the missing and murdered Indigenous women. So I think that is actually going like a step above for the collective. It's not just focusing on like a gruesome disappearance or murder. It's more like raising awareness about all of these disappearances.
Yeah.
So listen to that. Up and Vanish is great. Over My Dead Body is the one that we listened to. And like for, you know, it's like a 7-hour drive. So for 7 hours, we're just listening to them talk about like, and then he was shot twice in the chest, you know, like and then I had bad dreams because like listening to that stuff and like, you're in a sort of place of meditation when you're listening or watching, you're absorbing that. So if you're having bad dreams or like trouble sleeping or wake up scared in the night, like what are you watching?
That's such a good idea. I probably see. That's why I'm trying not to watch these scary murder shows before I go to bed.
It's low vibe. Jess, why are we obsessed with it? Will you ask?
Yeah, they're kind of saying like a lot of us have died in wars that are coming back right now.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and they said we're here to kind of like I guess understand what causes people to break in that way. Like there's a curiosity of the human psyche breaking that would murder other humans. And if we're all here to kind of make this like aligned society, we have to understand the shadow. That's our shadow, I guess. It's shadow, it's collective shadow work is what they're saying, is we have to understand why are people like, yeah, why does somebody just like flip out and kill their wife and drown their kids and kind of a thing? You know, like that from a society standpoint is like, let's look into that, what happened there. And then what you find is that while there is sometimes like mental illness, there's often just a lot of like societal factors that build up on people, and you can see how they've slipped through the cracks and don't get support, and then boom, like, you know, everything kind of comes together in an explosive episode and people lose their lives.
Yeah, they just found the Zodiac killer like 2 years too late. He was already dead.
Oh, where'd they find him?
I think they like discovered his name, I think is the article that I was reading. And then they found out that he died.
Like who he was.
Yeah, he died in like 2018 or something.
Oh, that's trippy.
Isn't that trip? I feel like it's all really kind of coming to the surface. Murder is kind of an industry now, which is kind of gross.
Ooh, that gives me chills.
I know. Also, one of my friends says that she doesn't think murder is contracted, but I disagree. I think that every experience is a contract. It's just whether or not you're like tapping into that potential.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Ooh, this is like really heavy on my heart, but like what they kind of show me is like some people come in for like retribution or payback. And again, they're showing me like big wars, right? Like big, you did this to my people and I'm going to do this to your people. They're learning though. Those souls are learning. There's a lot more like punishment, and hopefully what they're saying is a lot more help to get them to process it without having to do it in a violent way. And that's our evolution. Before you would just like fight. And I've been watching all this like Roman stuff with my husband. He's like so into history, and like I like Romans because they're like sexy and like badass. So like that's where we meet.
Right.
But it's like, you know, like they're like all fighting, and it's like all war. Like that was their whole lives, which is like, let's conquer this. And like, let's conquer that, you know, like, so there's a lot of like, how do we like maybe like change or do things without having to like physically take over whole populations.
That makes sense.
Murdered for contract though. They're saying, yeah.
That's what I feel like. Like if it wasn't contracted, it wouldn't happen. Nothing happens by chance.
Yeah. And like, if you're an innocent bystander, you might've really killed an innocent bystander in another life.
Yeah. Like I think it's all so like deeply interwoven and connected.
Yeah. And I think like what I always like to say is like, I have access to some stuff, but not all stuff. And so, you know, it's based on how I ask the question, this is what they show me. But it's, again, it's for us to like what my guys are saying, like, but again, it's for us to learn, like, not to do that, right? It's for us to learn how to like release those contracts or complete them in another way. Because what they're saying is even if you have a murder contract, you can like overwrite it, or you can like complete the energy in a different way. That's cool.
Yeah.
So you don't have to like murder, but you need to be an evolved soul to realize that.
So that you have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And we know all of you are evolved souls.
Yes.
You all have a choice. So that whole stay sexy, don't get murdered. How about stay sexy, choose not to get murdered?
Yes. Choose not to get murdered, people.
I love where this has taken a turn. Actually, really, this is so interesting to talk about.
Murder podcast. Well, yeah, because you're right. It is everywhere. It is.
Oh my God, it's everywhere.
This season right now, the spooky season, you can see it. I read a little article about the history of the murder podcast and like how it started on this one podcast. And they just did it as a series and it was like wildly popular.
Was it Serial?
I think it was Serial. And then she was just like, oh, okay, I'll do some more.
Well, it had a ripple effect because he got a new trial. I think he got out.
Yes,
Adnan Syed.
yes,
Yeah.
Yes.
And so then do it.
People were like, oh, what else can we look into? And the internet sleuths, as we like to call them, are like, how else can we help? And now there's like Netflix documentaries. I watched this one about this chick in this elevator in this old house. And it was just, or this old, hotel or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing though, for me on those things, like they're never like, they're just like, ooh, spooky, but they like, a lot of them aren't solved.
Right.
And they just kind of like I feel like it's like a re-trauma of like, hey, here's a bunch of stuff that happened that's not solved. Haha. And you're like, are we supposed to solve this? Are we supposed to like be like, whoa, that's creepy. And when I watch them, I'm like, oh, she did it. Oh, she's a murderer. Like they set you up in this way to be like, going after somebody, and you sit there on your little high horse, like, So I don't know that it's good for me.
Yeah. You have to like also consider the fact that the people that are telling these stories have their own opinions and views that they might be like filtering into what they're showing you and like the angle in which they're showing you. I know they're like, I guess murder podcasts, crime podcasts, all the like crime blogs, I think they can be higher vibe, especially if they like bring more justice to a situation or like a different perspective. Like what's that actor, his wife, I'm sorry, her husband is an actor. She actually died. Her name is last name's McNamara. She solved the Golden State Killer through like her true crime blog. Like there's an HBO series, I think, on it. I forget what it's called. Like Night Stalker.
Ooh.
Something. I think that's what it's called. But she also wrote a book and then died before it was finished. So her husband.
How did she die?
Cancer? I don't really remember. This was like a couple years ago. But like she was a crime junkie. And like really dove head first into this case and followed leads. And she essentially like the research and stuff that she did, I think ultimately led to an arrest.
Whoa.
For the Golden State Killer. Yeah. So like, I think there is that other side of these things. It's like, if you're going to create a crime podcast, are you harping on the crime, the murder, the gore, the blood, or are you like doing it for the greater intention of like, is this just?
Yeah.
Like what's the vibration?
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Now as we talk about like these topics, right? And you say like, if we watch these shows, we can really soak them in. And as I think about like talking to spirits and stuff, like I put up a lot of protections before I talk to spirits. Like, should I put up protections before I watch these shows? Maybe
I put a selenite wand in front of my TV.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Like create a barrier. I'll tell you why, because obviously I love ghost shows. Like I love ghost shows. If you want ghost show recommendations, like email me, I will tell you. But we watched Zach Baggins. He is the host of Ghost Adventures.
Okay.
Jenna and I have a lot of theories about like who he is as a person, but obviously I don't know because I don't know him. But he did this documentary that's not on TV because like while you're watching it, like the energy is so strong that like if you're open to it, you can have these manifestations in your own home of this terrible energy.
Oh my God.
I forget what it was called. I don't think it was called, it's like demon something. But like where this terrible haunting took place, he bought the house, obviously, because if it's haunted, he's going to buy it. He has that like museum of haunted objects in Vegas that is like so scary. Like he has everything. Like he has like a Dybbuk box.
Natalie, it's so
I know.
hard for you
I'm
to
sorry.
listen to this.
Put your protection up.
I know I'm going to right now.
But he had this demon documentary of the demon house. I think that's called Demon House. And anyway, they destroyed the house at the end
like
because it was too much. He spent his whole shtick is like staying overnight in haunted locations and like locking himself in and yeah, just really exposing yourself to the elements. And he used to, in the early days of Ghost Adventures, would provoke, like provocation was his main tactic. So of course they got a lot of attachments. But this house that he locked himself in before it was demolished, he actually had permanent visual issues afterwards because he got like severe eye pain while he was locked in the house. And now he has like to wear prism lenses.
Like Bono?
Does Bono wear prism lenses?
I don't know. He has something with his eyes. I don't know.
He also locked himself in a demon house.
I mean, okay, you guys, if you're going to lock yourself in a demon house,
why?
Why? Two, be prepared for maybe some weird stuff to happen. Well, I don't think I would go that far. Like there's lots of ghosts all around you all the time. Most of them are pretty cool and chill. Some of them are not so great, but I remember the first time I saw a ghost and that really freaked me out.
Oh yeah.
So imagine seeing demons and stuff. That would freak me out.
That's a no for me. I actually don't see them because I don't want to.
Oh yeah. See, that's good. Yeah. This is when I was in my shamanic training and I didn't know yet that I could, put boundaries up and kind of like work with requests, like I like to say, like, how you want to experience things. And we were sitting in circle and, I just saw this Indian man pacing in the middle of the circle. And it was like in somebody's living room. So it was a small group and it really felt like as if a real person was pacing. And so I was getting like, excuse me, sir, like we're like sharing right now. This is like so rude.
Excuse you.
And he was like pacing and he was like really distressed. And so little old Jess is just sitting there being like, I wonder if I can talk to him. So I just went telepathically. I was like, hey, and he stopped and he turned and he looked at me and I was like, oh, fuck. And I was like, what do you want? And he's like, I need to get a message to this other person in the circle. And I was like, okay, if you tell me the message, I'll give it to them. And will you then go away? Because we're like sharing right now. That's kind of rude. And I was looking around the circle as I'm having this telepathic conversation, being like, does anybody else see him? Is anybody else reacting? Because there's lots of like mediums and clairvoyants. Did you like and psychics.
See or see?
Oh, no, third eye see.
See.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But every single detail, like I described what he was wearing, the color of his hair, how tall he was, like everything. But like when you see like those like ghostly figures or whatever, when the ghosts like kind of like appear in that way, I have never seen that. Ooh, I don't know if I want to see that.
I've seen that.
You have? I do again, like take me aliens, but also like, I don't know. If it was like a safe, nice ghost from like a far distance, I'd be okay with it. But this was third eye but it was so real. And so in this circle, in this living room, there was this corner that was like super high energy. Like in whenever you sat there, you'd have like really like big revelations in circle.
Ooh,
so I was like,
portal.
Yeah. So he told me, he's like, here's the message, da, da, da. And then I said, okay, go stand in that corner. Cause like, I feel like that's gonna be like good for you, friend. And so he went over there and then he like kind of got smaller and then like disappeared. So I was like, okay.
So definitely a portal.
Yeah. And so then I went over to this person and I was like, hey,
by the way,
this ghost came and, had a message for you and da, da, da. And so I told them this and they were a little bit kind of like wide-eyed, but also in a shamanic circle. So like not too surprised.
Right.
And they went and worked with our teacher on it and they gave me an update and they're like, so this guy was like part of their family and had died kind of like unexpectedly and like didn't know that he died. And so he was, and this is like a long ass time ago, like we're talking like 1800. So he's been like roaming the earth, looking for his family, feeling so horrible because he was like, I know, he's like, I'm responsible for them. Meanwhile, his family has already like passed on. And so I had this, like the first thing I had when they told me that was like this deep empathy for the ghosts of like, especially the ones that like, don't know that they've died and like, don't know how to cross over. And I don't quite understand like how that happens, like how they like miss the chance like how they, you know what I mean? Like, and isn't there like a bus that comes around and be like, hey, if you didn't realize you're dead, get on the bus,
get in.
Let's go back to heaven or whatever. Because there are some spirits that are like, oh, cool. No, I'm here. I want to stay. This is my house. I don't want to go to the light. You know, I want to hang out in this bar. You don't want to haunt the shit.
Yeah.
So some people stay, which I was like, wait, like you can stay? What? But he didn't want to stay. So they helped him cross over. And I was like, oh, that's so beautiful. So like, it was so, I felt so good that I was like, oh, I helped this guy kind of like get out of this torturous space. And once I heard that full story, like that confirmation was like so good to be like, oh, okay. So that was a person that I saw, and this was the message, and it was the thing.
It was real.
But I haven't really had any experiences like that. I will talk to ghosts in people's houses and like house spirits and stuff like that, but I haven't like seen them like that before.
Yeah.
It was cool though.
That's really cool.
But intense.
That is intense.
And I thought, do I want to do psychopomp work? But nah.
No.
But I like to just, every time I see ghosts, I'm like, go towards the light.
Just leave. It's better.
It's so much better. But I should actually ask my guides, how do people miss the boat?
I think that they don't know that they have a choice.
Oh.
I feel like there's a lot of like conscious work that we're doing now and like creating a reality and creating I think that they're just like victims of the conditioning of death, like purgatory and limbo. And I feel like they need to stay out of some sort of punishment, or like they're in timeout, or they're grounded. They're literally like grounded.
This guy who was like, I got to find my family. Like maybe he knew that he needed to go, but he was like, but where's my family?
I have something to do. Unfinished business, as they say.
Ooh, this is like going to be like the chills episode.
I know I got like a bunch of feedback in my ear when you were talking about that guy. Like, ooh. That's in summation, it's never really just your imagination.
No. Okay, let's hear your haunted house story. Like, tell me about these ghosts.
Oh God. Okay. So Jenna and I, when we first got together, lived in downtown Denver, had a fucking blast. Totally recommend it, especially in your 20s. And then we went and travel nursed for 9 months. We did like 3 different 3-month contracts.
Oh, cool.
Came back home to Colorado and then decided we wanted to buy a house. So we went looking at all of these different houses, and if you know the Denver market, I mean, it's wild. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Still is, always has been. So we went and saw this tiny little, like 860 square foot house, like a 2-bed, 1-bath. So cute. So perfect. Like a 1-car garage, like not very practical, but also like we weren't planning on having kids at that point. So we were like, well, it's great. It's perfect for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we go see it with our realtor, who also happens to be Jenna's sister's husband's mom. So her brother-in-law's mom. We love her so much. And so we go see this house with her, and we were like, yeah, this looks great. I think we really like it. It was like the best out of any of the ones that we'd seen. So we just like threw in an offer actually for asking. And then our realtor submitted a letter saying we're like 2 nurses looking to buy our first home together, and we're going to get married in the house. That was the whole plan, was like, we were already engaged. Like we were looking for a house we could also get married in.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. Like my first wedding was like 20 grand, and we're not doing that again. That's stupid. Don't recommend.
Flushing sound.
Don't do it. Yeah, it's a trap. So she submitted this letter, and actually the owners of the house, I think they also might've been lesbians, but they got a couple more offers over asking, and they chose us because of the letter, which like you don't hear about. Like that's wild. You don't hear about that.
Yeah.
So then we're doing our final walkthrough right before we go close, and we're standing in the master bedroom, and like the doorbell rings, and we were like, oh, it's just the house welcoming us. So like
nobody was at the door is what you're saying.
Sign. No, nobody was at the door. And we just like chalked it up to like the house welcoming us. And it's like, you know, electrical systems from like the 1940s. It's old. We were just like, it's old. It's fine. So then we closed and then move in. Everything's great. Jenna and I are still working night shift. So most of the time we were up super late at night,
Mhm.
and stuff always happens late at night. Like it
Mhm.
always does. So like a couple weeks after we moved in, we're staying up really late before like a stretch of night shifts. And I was in the kitchen, which is on like one side of the house, and then the bedrooms are on the other side of the house. Obviously not that far from each other. It was a very small house. So I'm like putting away dishes, and I hear like, we were like, oh, the house feels kind of weird. Like we just moved in. Let's just sage it. So Jenna's saging while I'm doing dishes. And I hear this like,
Stop it.
help, like from
Stop it.
outside. So like outside the kitchen. I love that you're saging.
What the fuck is coming through?
So like outside of the house, like right outside of the kitchen was the garage.
Okay.
And that's important later.
Okay.
So I hear this help. It's definitely a woman saying help. And like, as I hear that, I was like, Jenna, are you okay?
And these ears, hearing
These
ears,
my
not your clear
real
audience,
ears.
your weird,
Nope, my human ears.
human ears. Okay.
And I'm like, Jenna, are you okay? I just heard someone scream help. And she's like, I'm fine. I didn't say anything, but I just got shoved off the guest bed. So she like something physically pushed her off the guest bed. And at this point we were like, there's something else going on here. There's clearly something else going on. So we're like, I don't really know what to do. We're just going to kind of ignore it. Like we've had spirits in our apartments before because we just figure we like bring them home from work. Jenna, one of Jenna's guides is like the angel of death. Literally all of her patients die because they're comfortable crossing over with her.
Oh yeah. That's nice.
But I have not had a single patient die. So she brought home all of these spirits, and it never was a problem to clear them.
Okay.
We were like, fine, we'll just sage. It'll like go away or whatever. Go to bed. Then like, I think a couple nights later, we were sitting on the couch super late at night again, because we stayed up all night, and we heard like gunshots outside. We go outside, like there's nothing going on. Like it was phantom gunshots, but I swear to God, they were loud.
Whoa.
And then maybe a week later, I'm not sure really on the timeline, because like our wedding was coming up. So we were preparing the house for the wedding. I woke up in the middle of the night sobbing. We slept with the nightlight on because I was scared at night. Woke up in the middle of the night, absolutely terrified and sobbing and crying. And I have like just a vague recollection of this because I think it was a little bit of a possession, maybe like a tiny bit of a possession. And I think I felt something on my throat, like it was hard to breathe. After that night, would not sleep there alone. If Jenna was working and I wasn't, I drove my car to where she was working, parked in the garage, slept in my car. It was like,
in like the hospital garage?
Yeah, I would not.
Whoa.
And we had a roommate. Our friend was living with us at the time, and he nothing, saw nothing, heard nothing.
The ghosts are like, nah.
I'd be like, try and stay up with me. And he'd be like, I'm tired.
Oh my God.
Sleep. So that all happened. And then my mother-in-law speaks to this. She has a really close friend that's an intuitive.
Okay.
And the intuitive was like, I need to talk to Jenna and Natalie. Like, if they're going to have a wedding in this house, I need to talk to Jenna and Natalie. So she got us in touch with her. And then we got on a Zoom call. Ooh. And it ended up being like a 3-hour Zoom call. Yeah. And she was like, we have to clear this house. She's like, it's bad news. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's the owner of the house, like whoever built the house. And we like had found really weird stuff. Like we cleaned out the garage. We tore some cabinets out. And the garage was permitted after the house. We found the permit in the wall behind some of the cabinets, and it had the guy's name on it that bought the house and built it. Had his name.
Oh my God, I'm like crying.
He also put his initials in the driveway, in the concrete, when he laid the driveway. So he laid the driveway in like 1985 because he also put the date. And
why do people do that?
I feel like he was a little bit of a narcissist.
I was gonna say like your own little like walk of fame.
A little proud. Yeah, because we're pretty sure there's a body under there. So we like, as we were clearing out these cabinets, like the week we moved in, we found tally marks inside one of the cabinet doors. Very clearly tally marks. Like this was not just like scribbles.
Yeah.
These were tally marks. And the back of the garage had an old well that used to be the irrigation system for like the property is like on a quarter of an acre lot. This was built in the 1940s. So it had a well that used to irrigate the lawn. That was really creepy and gross.
Ew,
and then
yeah.
the garage always smelled like gasoline, even though we never parked in there. And then we like opened this cabinet and found all these old newspaper clippings behind it of like communist stuff and like Russian stuff. And there were swastikas in the cabinet. And her sister and brother-in-law helped us clear out the garage and like tear down the cabinets. And he took some of the cabinets in his truck to dispose of because her parents own a shop with like a big dumpster. So he was just going to throw them in the dumpster. And like that night that he had the cabinets in his truck parked in his own garage, his like breaker tripped in his garage. The electricity stopped working in his garage. Turns out the guy's energy was in the wood. We had to, for 3 days prior to like our big clearing, we had to take this mixture of like oils and salts and like salt the rugs and like wipe the floors down with these oils to try to like get his energy out of there. We put like a big bowl with like a smoky quartz crystal and like garlic and salt in the garage to try to clear the energy. So then like we did this for like 3 days.
Oh my
gosh. And then we like hopped on a Zoom call with this intuitive for the clearing. She was like, you have to do this because there were men coming to our wedding that were going to be affected negatively by the energy because he was a really angry, misogynistic man. And like they were going to be affected by it because there's going to be drinking. And also like, we did not even want anybody to fly off the handle.
Oh my gosh.
From this energy. So like we go into the clearing and all of this information starts coming out. She like has us walk around with her on Zoom to see the space and whatever. And we go to like the bedroom, our bedroom. And it turns out he had killed his wife.
Yeah, I knew that.
She was on the side of my bed. She hopped in my body. So we cleared her. She was terrified of him.
Yeah.
We kept trying to sage, right? To have sage lit while we were doing this. He kept blowing it out. He kept blowing it out. Like there was no reason for the sage to keep going out. So she was like, okay, well, fuck you. We can do this without it. So we like put it down. Jenna got like chest pain and she was like, Natalie, what do you think he died of? I was like, he died of a heart attack.
Yeah.
And he did. He died of a heart attack.
Yeah.
There was something buried in the yard. I don't know what it was, but there was an apple tree in the far back and that was supposed to be like in memoriam of something. So then we go outside to the garage and she sees him in her third eye. He's a sociopath. She's like, I can hear his thoughts.
The intuitive.
Right. The intuitive kid. She's like, I can hear his thoughts. He's completely emotionally disconnected. He was one of the mimicker serial killers while Ted Bundy was in jail.
Oh my God, Natalie.
There were like a handful of them in the Denver Boulder area that the police never caught. Ugh. Because they were mimicking him. Ugh. So come to find out, she's like, I think there were like rafters up on the top of the garage. She's like, I'm pretty sure he hid a body up there. It feels like there's a body up there. He would set up his workbench over the well so that all the blood drained down to the well. He would irrigate it into the yard.
I'm scared.
I know.
This is a scary story.
I know. And then he would clean the garage with gasoline to strip it. So that's why we kept smelling gasoline in the garage, even though we never parked there. So it took like 4 hours to clear him. But then the girl, so we know for sure one girl that he killed was named Becky. And she wanted to stay on the property as like a protector. She did not want to go to the light. And that's who I heard yell help.
Oh, okay.
We've seen her. We saw her after the clearing. I saw her walking in our hallway once, like with my eyes.
With your eyes.
I saw her walking in our hallway once. I've seen her outside. But we think that she's probably under the driveway. Yeah, we think that's why he laid the driveway. But she's the only one on the property. And like before the clearing, but after we had talked to the intuitive, she kind of gave us some information to look up like who owned the house and whatever. So like one night during a really slow night shift, like I went on a fucking rabbit hole, found his son on Facebook.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
And then there's a missing persons website. So we could see all of the like missing and murdered women or whatever during this time piece that like they never found their killers, like cold cases. And like this girl, we found her.
Stop it.
No, we found her. Like they found her clothes in a field, never found her body. He picked her up off Colfax in Denver. She was in like beauty school. Like, yeah. And like confirmed, like her name was Rebecca. And then when it came out in the clearing that like Becky was there at the house, we were like, that's her.
I mean, my jaw is like on the floor.
It was wild. And like anytime we would have like Jenna's dad on the property or anything, we would see Becky. She was like super protective, and she liked that it was only women living in the house.
My guides are saying, this has a lot to do with Jenna, right?
Oh, it has so much to do with Jenna. No, I understand that Jenna grew up in a haunted house.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
There's
wild
something
story.
about her work and you together, like clearing this stuff. And like, of all people, like you would probably be the ones to like connect with an intuitive and actually like free people, like the wife and whatever, like, I just like, I'm like, I hope, what's your house, your current new house? Like there's nobody in there, right? You've checked it.
The people that built it are the ones that are selling it to us. So nobody died.
Okay, good.
Nobody died. I'll tell you Jenna's little story about the house she grew up in. It's short.
Yeah.
So she grew up in a haunted house. Her room was always freezing cold. Her like, cause obviously we grew up in the 2000s, like her straightener was always plugged into the wall. And they would make sure to unplug it before they left for school or whatever.
Yeah.
They would come home, the straightener would be plugged in and on the rug, like it was trying to light the rug on
fire.
Her brother-in-law came over to do some work on the house for her parents, and he was using like a tile saw, and he felt like a tap on his shoulder, and he turned around, didn't see anything, went back to tiling, and there was a tiny handprint in the water on the tile from this ghost. They always called her like Franny or something. So when Jenna and I met, we met a medium at my favorite bar.
Oh yeah.
And actually this medium that I met at the bar was the one who like cracked the case of the ghost in Jenna's house that grew up with. Turns out she died during like the Spanish flu or something. Like her whole family died. Jenna's brother-in-law was her brother in that life. All of Jenna's family experienced this presence, like Jenna's room the most, but not her oldest sister who married him.
Oh my
God. She knew that she was going to marry him, and she like protected her from it. Didn't fuck with her essentially. And her name was like Susie. She had like a little ringlet blonde hair.
Oh my God.
And like once this was all figured out and all the connections were made, like she moved on.
See, like past lives exist, people.
They do.
That's all I have to say. Like
she only showed herself to him because that was her brother.
Crazy.
I know.
Whoa.
Those are my haunted house stories.
Well, and so I would say, if you're buying a new house, like call up an intuitive and just
look into it.
Just double check. There's a lot of us out there that do that kind of work or do like house clearings. And I do that like at least once a quarter. If not, when I feel like it, I will just go around and just clear my house, clear my bedroom, clear things, I mean, I'm talking to all kinds of people all day, so
I do that.
Yeah. After every session always, but yeah, I would say too, of the sessions, I guess I would call them ghosts-ish, but they're not, but like, it's when the ancestors come in, like when your grandparents come in or your relatives that have like lived kind of in this era, this time frame, that's really trippy because they look very human and just very like real to me. And like, like you can recognize their clothes and their face and what they look like versus when you talk to like angels or spirits or other things are more like ethereal or, contact you in a different way. But these are very like, no, these are people and they're like cracking jokes with me and stuff.
Yeah,
so it's just
funny.
It's just they're very like human for ghosts. Because they are human.
Because they're human. They're showing you their human self.
Wow. That is trippy.
I know. I will say, if you have any fears about buying a haunted house, like you won't be experiencing it unless you're attracting it. Like what you're experiencing, you're attracting. So like there was a reason in our contract somewhere that we were supposed to buy this house because it all happened so seamlessly and do this clearing and experience all of this. Like it all happens for a reason. It's not like, it doesn't have to all be like scary, doom, gloom. I'm a victim. What's happening to me? Like there's a reason.
Now I want to know, like, how did you sell that house where you're like, do?
Okay. So
it's ghost free.
We sold the house to this guy that was moving for his church, which is fine. That's not a problem. But he refused to shake Jenna's hand. He's young. He was like around our age.
Okay.
Didn't really look us in the eye. He thought we were, I mean, you could just like tell, you know, when you're talking to people and you can tell that they don't view you as an equal.
Yeah.
It was that vibe. And so we're going through all the formalities of like signing the papers, which I've never done, like a house selling with the buyer. Like I've never done that.
Okay.
But he was there. We were both there. And so like at the end, his realtor's like, oh, is there anything you want to tell him about the neighborhood or the house? And so like, obviously noticing this guy's a fucking bigot. We were like, let's tell him the legend of the house. So I told him there was a serial killer that lived there. There's still a dead girl on the property. She might not like you. She doesn't like men.
Bye.
And we've like driven by recently and like the whole front yard is dead. Like I feel like he's having a rough time there, but
yeah, well,
yeah,
this ghost is like not liking him.
She's not a fan.
That is a good ghost story. I have lots of chills. If you want to watch me on YouTube doing like this, I had to like grab my crystals to like ground me. Usually I can like make it through with like a little bit of like, okay, there's a little bit of chills, but that was just like
it was
waves
intense.
and waves and waves. Wow.
It was very intense.
That's cool. I like that though. That's a good ghost story. Well, what do you recommend to like protect yourselves from ghosts? Like I like the selenite wand on the TV. What else do you do? Like every time I drive by a what is it? A graveyard? Cemetery. I just say protection's up.
Yeah.
But then I know friends who like go in there and chat with people. I don't do that. More power to you if you like to do that. I don't like to disturb people so much. And I know that you can always do disagreement, but like, I don't know, ghosts are jumpy sometimes. They like to attach. Oh, I'll tell you about my attachment story.
Okay.
I was in a circle in a ceremony and we didn't know at the time, but the person we were working with was possessed.
Cool.
And we were a whole group of women. And so that's how the possession came out. Usually this person would do a mix of men and women, but because we were all women, it came out. And we all felt it and we all kind of were like, WTF. And that night I came home and I was still kind of in this ceremony energy. I had the craziest dreams. I was sweating, like saturated. My clothes were saturated. My sheets, pillows, everything was saturated. And I woke up, this freaked me the fuck out, with my pajama pants wrapped around my neck.
Oh my God.
Several times. I was freaked out.
Oh my God.
And everybody else had various weird experiences. And we met with a healer and she kind of went through and cleared us all. And it was so funny because they're like, oh, okay, you know, you've got stuff and you got stuff and you this and that. Everybody had these different things. And then they came to me, they're like, oh, Jessica, you're actually fine. You know, you just have this, like, you have a throat thing, you know, and they were kind of pointing out to some stuff. They're like, but you don't have any like attachments that I need to clear because your protections are so strong. And I was like, well, that felt good. But I was like, but why am I doing this? Right. And it was almost like I had this like really strong bubble of protection, but they could almost like press it in and then influence it in a way, even though they couldn't like attach to me. Yeah. They could influence me, which really freaked me out. But I always sleep with things around my neck. And I always I will pull blankets up and I've noticed that. And I was like, I need to go explore a bit more like what that's about. But that was very weird. I did not like that.
Weird. Why do you think that you attracted that?
Well, because all of that whole group, we're all bonded for life. and we are like really good friends and we see each other and support each other. And that experience was for all us. We're all healers in some form or way, whether we were doing it professionally or not, or about to do it. And we all realized that we were strong enough to like fight this thing off together. So it was kind of like an empowerment thing for us. And it was like a circle of 7 and it was very coven-esque, you know.
Ooh.
We don't actually see all of them, everybody anymore, but there's a couple of us that really kind of are still connected. And I'm like bonded to life with these people.
It's called a trauma bond.
It was fucking traumatic. It was so, woo. Like
that stuff changes you. That things like that, they alter your course.
I think what it really kind of in that whole thing, because of all the rest of the ceremony too, I was just like, holy crap, like there is like worlds and worlds and layers and layers and levels and levels and levels of things out there. Like I was like, boop, I have like no idea. I think it really exposed me to be like, oh, there's like a shit ton out there, and like keep doing your protections and keep, you know, doing that kind of stuff. So yeah, that was trippy.
That's wild.
But now when I go by cemeteries, I put up productions. I usually wear crystals a lot, different types of crystals for whatever I need. They're kind of like my go-to for like, plus they're cute and pretty, but I also feel protected. And then I always do stuff around sessions, but I also don't invite that stuff in, you know?
Yeah. You have to,
really need to work with ghosts.
There is some level of invitation if you're experiencing it.
Yeah.
You can always say no. You have the power of choice. You have free will. In this house, when I first started working with ETs, I hadn't like been paying attention to them. And so one of them slapped our baby gate off of the front of the stairs. We keep a gate so the dogs don't go upstairs, and it slapped it down. And I was like, absolutely not. No, thank you. You're not going to speak to me that way. Like you can tell them like, no, I'm not going to receive communication like that.
Wait, but were they trying to get your attention and they just happened to do that? Or were they like being like aggressive or mean?
I don't think they're being
just trying to get your attention.
Yeah. Like, hey. I don't invite in the aggressive and the mean after this experience. I had that aura reading in Sedona, right?
Oh yeah.
And she was like, you have all of this up here set up, like everything up here in your crown is set up. It's just like your third eye is like a gatekeeper. Like you're not letting yourself see it. And I truly believe that that's true. Like I can very easily tap in and trust that it's real and what I'm experiencing is real. I just don't want to see it all the time. I feel like I have super strong boundaries.
Why don't you want to see it all the time?
Because I don't want to be walking along down my hall and see someone with like a missing arm. Like, I don't want to see that.
You don't want to have like a haunted, scary house all the time.
Yeah. Like I get to decide when I want to be open to see those things. And like, it's in sessions. I open myself up to see those things in sessions. And a lot of the times I do, I see your family members cross over, and I have like a couch in here, a day bed, and they come and they sit on the day bed and they just like wait for me to address them. Like, I do actually see these things. It's just like, I'm now just allowing myself and knowing how to open that safe container to see them.
Yeah. And I think that's important. I think, you know, if you do have those abilities and, you know, if you saw them when you were a kid and you were younger, maybe you like shut that down. Yeah. If you get some protections and some, you know, boundaries around that, it is really beautiful to work with the other sides, I think, if you're interested.
Yeah. And it's like, and it's not your imagination. Like, I don't know how much I can harp on that. It's not your imagination. Like,
no, I would not imagine any of this.
If you have like for me, I didn't realize like having an active imagination actually lends to mediumship, because like it's not your imagination. It is real, just not on this plane of existence. It's like I first started tapping into these mediumship abilities in sessions when someone was talking about their mom, and like I was like, okay, well maybe I'll just invite their mom's energy forward. Mom's still alive. I invited the mom's energy forward, and I was like, what's your contract with your daughter? Like, what did you give her? And she was like, neuroses. And I was like, your mom said she made you neurotic. And she was like, oh my God, that's true. Like, it's just not like, you have to be able to trust that what you're receiving, like it's real. And it's nice in sessions that I get that validation from people. I think it's a little bit more challenging when you don't have sessions and you don't get that validation for your crazy thoughts.
Yeah, I agree. And that's a good point. That's why I only really like to do that stuff in session as well, because then I have protections up, I have
Mhm.
open and close,
Yeah.
I can make sure that everybody's like taken care of. But yeah, that's, yeah, like talking to people's current energies, like the current family members and inviting them in. I think it's like, it's helpful. Like a lot of times what people say about my sessions, they're like, you covered so much that I could never cover in therapy in 3-4
Yeah.
years. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, because I just like go right to it. I'm like, and I just like talk to your mom and I say, yeah, she's a narcissist. And she's like,
There's
I
no
knew
digging.
it, and
There's
it's
no
like,
digging.
yeah, let's just admit it all.
Yeah.
Higher selves, come on in. And
Mhm.
and that's so healing. And I love that about mediumship. Even like when I talk to people's parents on the other side, and they can apologize to their kids and they can
Oh
admit their
yeah.
faults, and they're so much nicer. Some of them still kind of show up as like a kind of energy. But most of the time they're very like, oh, I get it. I've learned, I can have this conversation. I can say sorry to my daughter. I can tell her that I'm proud. So that's, I
Mhm.
think a cool thing too about mediumship is getting to the healing for people who didn't get to have those conversations.
I feel like it really just gives clarity for like you allow people to see things that they don't allow themselves to see.
Yeah.
That's what we do by setting up our safe space, our sacred space before sessions. It's just like anything that's going to come through is only going to be of your highest and greatest good.
Yeah.
Anything.
Because we said so.
Yeah, because I said so. That's the intention I
And
set.
that's the power of intention. Like if I was to say like one thing, it's intention over
Mhm.
everything. Like
Oh yeah.
get yourself so good and clear on understanding and setting intentions and what that means. And off you go.
And trusting it. I feel like you can say all you want till you're blue in the face, like I'm protected, I'm protected, I'm protected. But if you're still
Yeah.
scared,
True.
that's not actually protection. Like you're still
Yeah.
leaning into the energy or the frequency of not being protected. So like say, I allow myself to feel protected. I am protected. And like, what does that
Yeah.
protection feel like? Like carry
Yeah.
that frequency in with you instead
Boom.
of just like aggressively repeating it at yourself.
Because that's what we do in Psych K, right? We like feel the feeling that we want to feel about the situation.
Kind of. It's like
Oh,
it's like a change there's a change process in psyche, but that's how I tell people to manifest.
yeah, is to feel it.
You have to feel it, feel the frequency. If you don't believe it, if you don't feel it, it's not going to happen.
And it's like, it's weird when you don't know what that would be like, or, but it's like, that's the whole thing. It's like, well, why do you want that red sports car? Right. Like I always do the
What's the
sports car,
feeling
right.
it's
But
going
it's
to give
like,
you? Yeah.
what is that? What is that feeling? Yeah. So same thing with mediumship, same thing with like all this kind of like communication, everything. It's like, set yourself up, but then trust that what comes through is supposed to come through.
Yeah. I firmly believe that everybody can like has mediumship capabilities. I
Mm-hmm.
think everybody does. And I think the reason that I came in to this meat suit, not seeing dead people is because like I got the opportunity to really like build on my mediumship in a more like conscious and intentional way to like teach people how to do that. Like you don't have to have traumatic ghost stories as a child to be a medium. Like you don't.
Oh, yeah. I know. I always
Not
like
a prerequisite.
people will be like, oh, I've had these abilities since I was a kid or whatever. And I was like, I don't have that.
Right.
And then when I looked back in my life, I was like, oh yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I just like didn't
it
invite it in at that level, or I didn't think it was weird, like, and didn't have like a scary experience like some people did. But I think, it's like dropping any comparisons. And, the biggest thing that this book I have on channeling says is like, you have to have the desire to do this. You have to have
want
the desire to connect with them. And, like you want to do that in a, I don't know, like they're saying to me like a gracious way, but like, you want to open the door and close the door and like have rules and boundaries around it consciously.
Intentionally.
Yeah. Like, why are you like, when you were like a teenager or whatever, younger, and you're like doing the Ouija board and stuff like that. It's like, well, everybody's like, oh, warnings, it's like, well, yeah. Like, what are you contacting these ghosts for? Like, see if they exist.
Too open. Right. Yeah. Like you're wanting something scary and like nefarious to happen. So like, that's what's going to happen. And it's not going to be fun.
No. Okay. So people have asked me like, how do you know if you have like spirit attachment? And I would say like, if you went somewhere like kind of weird and creepy, for example, where you might have picked somebody up, it can be anywhere, but like, that's a good thing is look where you've been. And then like, what behavior changes have you noticed? And I think that, or if your family members or partners ever have noticed like behavior changes, like sometimes that could be like a spirit attachment. Like if all of a sudden you like are like a vegetarian and like you're like craving meat, or you don't drink and then you like want to start drinking beer, or like smoking cigarettes, like you might have a spirit attachment.
Yeah.
You know?
And you need to look at why you're calling that in, because you're not going to experience it. Like you're not a victim in these situations. Like you are somehow like contracted with this spirit to attach to you, because it's still giving you something.
Yeah. And maybe you go find somebody to help you clear that, and that opens up a whole new door for you. So like, don't freak out, because like sometimes that those scary situations can lead you to healers or to other people or to other pathways that are like where you're supposed to be. And that's just how you got there.
Yeah, that's it. It's just a little bump in your contract. It's fine. Follow that. Don't ignore it. It'll get worse.
You checked the ghost box. Okay.
You did. Welcome. We all checked ghost boxes.
I love it.
People in Psych K, a lot of the times when we're doing the shifts, will say like, oh, I feel lighter. I feel like something leaving.
Ooh.
And I always tell them, like, when I worked really closely with Shaman Durek, he said, every negative thought that you have is a spirit trapped in your energy field. So like, that's literally like, that's it leaving. You are cutting that attachment by shifting this belief.
I would say that's true, because sometimes thoughts feel like a menace, you know,
And
those racing.
That's just a spirit that you're called in, that you have a contract with, for some reason trapped in your energy field.
Ooh, and I think learning how to untrap them gives you abilities to untrap other things.
Oh, agreed. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is this giving me? If I step outside of the victim mindset of why is this happening to me? What is this giving me?
Yeah. Ooh. So many chills today.
Oh yeah. Welcome to Halloween. The veil's going to be really thin. So set up your protections. Jess, what's your best tip for like a quick protection setup? Like what can you tell people to like quickly put protections up or whatever?
I mean, literally protections up.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, my guides are like, you need to explain that more. Okay. Okay.
They're like,
so when I say, it's kind of like how you can take a crystal and like program it, right? To like do certain things for you, clear things, whatever. I have taken protections up as a spell and I have programmed it. So every time I say protections up, this is what it looks like. And what I did was I sat in meditation and I said protections up, and then I visualized that. And like, for me, it's like it's an egg, but it's like metal, and it's very like a movie. It's like, boom, 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 boom. You know, it's like the whole effect. And so that, like when I say protections up, it immediately goes into my auric field, and it just immediately says, okay, nope. And so I've kind of like assigned that phrase, that bigger vision of what I look like when I say protections up. And so that's what I like to do, is like pick a phrase, you know, because you might not always have a crystal, you might not know where you're going. And it's like, I just needed something that was quick and fast. And so when I say that, it just like activates that. And how I like to say that is like, you have a bunch of things in your field that you can activate with words or spells. And so I just do that. Like another one is love bomb.
Ooh.
And
What does that one do?
That just puts a bunch of like when you like something on social media and there's like all those heart flutters, that's what it looks like. And it's just like love. I just put that all around me. Yeah. Or if I'm like walking through, like when I used to work in Seattle Children's Hospital, I would put like white light around me and like send that out to all the patients, and just everywhere I walked through the hallways, I would cleanse the hallways and just send healing light out to people. It's one of the things that you can do without permission, is just embody yourself and be an emissary of light. So I did that a lot too.
Oh, I do that when I'm like out walking in nature or like around the neighborhood. Like I'll put light back into the ground as I'm walking.
Oh, nice. I love that.
Help the earth.
What about you? What do you do?
I hate being woken up. Like, hate being woken up. I am a deep sleeper. Do not wake me up. I don't want to be disturbed. So if I'm like in an unfamiliar place, if I'm at home, I set up like a pink bubble around our bed. And I'm like, this is a bubble of protection. Like only love can come in, only love can go out. Like it's just, we're protected
every night
while we're sleeping. I just mentally like, boop, put up the bubble.
Yeah, same thing. Yeah.
Or if I feel like I've been absorbing a lot of like lower frequency stuff, I put spirit dogs around my bed mentally.
Ooh.
I put like, for some, I don't know why this came through this way, but My side of the bed has like 2 Dobermans, like one at the front, one at the bottom.
Ooh.
And the one at the front, her name is Fifi. I don't know. She just came through. She's super protective. I totally trust her.
It.
The first night that I did this, I actually felt her paw on the bed. Like it moved the comforter. It's like validation. It's real. It's not all made up in my head. And then the one at the end of the bed is named Gus. And then on Jenna's side,
God, universe source.
I
Gus.
know. On Jenna's side, there's also a Doberman at her feet.
Okay.
Also wanted to be named Gus. So there's Gus. And then for some reason on her side of the bed by her head, I was like, that's not a Doberman, Jenna. What is it? And she was like, oh, I think it's a Dalmatian. I think he wants to be called Jimmy. So she has, like, I have no idea why. But if we're feeling like a little, we put the spirit dogs around the bed, and that helps me sleep so much. And then if I'm like out traveling, I put like a closed sign above me. I just visualize a sign and it says closed above me.
When you're out, what do you mean out traveling?
Like if I'm sleeping alone in like a hotel room, or like if I'm at a retreat, like I won't do the whole thing. I'll just like put a closed sign above my head, like floating, like.
Okay, how come you don't do the whole thing? Just easier, quicker?
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Because they can travel, right? You can bring the dogs wherever.
I could, but I feel like the closed sign is like a little bit more like.
It's like a blanket
it's
statement.
Like a steel cage around me, like closed.
Yeah, see, we have like the same like metal, like ain't nobody get in here today.
Nobody.
No, thank you. I like that. That's good. That's good protection. I think the other thing they want us to say is like to do some ancestor altars.
Ooh.
So like if you have pictures of them, or if you have something of theirs, and just to light some candles for them and bring them gifts, coffee, they love coffee, chocolate, anything that from like your culture, and just put a little piece on the altar. And then if it's like food items, you can either like recycle it or compost it, or I wouldn't eat it is what they like to say, because they're like going to take the energy out of it, so to speak. So, I mean, you could eat it if it's chocolate or whatever, but like you can also just recycle it. But that is always a nice thing too, just to kind of like pay homage to your protectors and your ancestors, and just, make sure you have that nice tight relationship should anything kind of come your way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You've got your team.
What, like on Halloween, or like just at any time you think of it? Like,
on Halloween for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Dia de los Muertos, anything, Day of the Dead, anything like that. This is like the time to do that.
Okay.
I actually have a session on Halloween that I need to move, because my guides don't want me reading anything that day. They want me to just do honoring that day. So I was like, oh, okay, that's good to know. And they're like, you shouldn't have had the sessions open on that day anyway. I'm like, well,
okay, got it.
Good to know. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I think I want to do some honoring and, do some thanking and some gratitude, and just keep my energy, nice and protected.
Yeah. Call in support. Also, it's not all on you to do it. If you're feeling like your boundaries aren't working, just be like, I would like to call in my guides for support and protection. And they'll come in. Mm-hmm.
Believe it. Yeah.
They'll come in.
Because otherwise you're just saying things.
Just don't waste your energy.
Yeah. And I think people are like, well, is it because I thought that this happened? And I'm kind of like, yeah.
Your thoughts create reality. Yeah.
Yes.
What are you thinking?
Yeah.
Check your thoughts. Anything else we want to talk about mediumship? I feel like we covered so much.
We did. We chatted a lot. Just that I am joining a mediumship circle, which I'm excited to talk about. Hopefully I'll have some like interesting insights about my own abilities, but yeah, that starts on Wednesday of this week.
So fun.
So I'm excited to like meet other like medium people and just, I don't know, learn. Because I haven't really learned, like how to do this. It just kind of happened, and it's kind of wily. And so I'd love to like learn just more about it, or different ways to access. I feel like I might learn like different ways to call things. And I've been doing these clairvoyant exercises with this woman that I follow, where she's just like, just imagine the number 1, right? And start with the 1. And so I was like, oh, my 1 is like green sequins.
Okay. Love it.
And I was like, that's weird, but okay. And then number 2, and like number 2 looked different. And so I was like, oh, I see where she's going with this. And so it was like, the practice is, start with 5, like 1 through 5, if you're like really new to this. But like you start to like make that association, right? Because if Natalie does it, her 1 might look different. It might have sequins on it. I don't know.
It doesn't.
Probably has like diamonds and rhinestones.
It doesn't.
What does your one look like?
It's gold with like a blue outline. It's
You already have an answer.
pretty
You're
boring.
like, duh, Jessica, I already have that. But it was just, I've been doing that to like call in certain numbers or like look at certain things, just to like, as a practice. So yeah, I've been like doing little things like that, which has been fun to just, and you know why I joined the circle? Because you inspired me with your post about working with a coach. And you're like, like as a coach, you want to like have your own coach. And I was like, well, yeah, as like a medium, I should like learn about more mediumship stuff and meet some more people. Not should, but wanted to, was inspired by.
Personal development.
Yeah. So it was, and I had been wanting to do something for a while, and had just been like, okay, I'm going to just call this in. And this felt really good. So
I love that.
I know. We'll see how it goes.
If anybody listening is super curious about their mediumship abilities or like how to tap in or tap in clearer, my whole course, Intuition Unblocked, is $100 off for the month of October. I only opened that up to my email list, but since you're listening, shoot me an email, hello@intuitivelynatalie.com, or the podcast email is fine, or DM me on Instagram, whatever. And I can give you that code so that you can join the course, because the VIP option essentially makes you a medium. And then we have monthly circles so that you can practice.
So as a Halloween gift to yourself. No, but I think that offering is so great because for not a lot of money, right? You can invest in yourself and get access to all these things. Like, I think what I love about you is like, you're kind of like, you don't need to spend a bunch of money and take a bunch of time and do this stuff. Like you can just learn it right now and do it right now. And then, yes, of course, you'll like take those skills and learn them and practice them and go from there, and, tap into your abilities. But they go, that's the fun part. You just have to like learn it real quick.
You do. You just have to learn it. You have to trust yourself. You have to do a little bit of unblocking, which the course provides. So it's really fun. Awesome. We've had a few like practice sessions, what I call them intuitive practice sessions so far. The next one's on the 30th, but like they're so fun. What
do you guys do? What do you guys do in there? Tell me.
We hold practice readings.
Oh, okay.
For each other.
Of like mediumship, like I want to talk to my grandmother, or like the
you
spirit,
can bring
or like
whatever tool you want. But I feel like I've found that it's much easier to like with prompts.
Yeah.
So we like pair up, I'll pair you up, and you'll practice like reading for someone else who has a question for you. And then you will also get like a message from somebody else because you come prepared with questions as well.
And that you can use like cards, intuitiveness, whatever they want.
Bring whatever tool that you want to use to
practice with.
Yeah, to practice with. So that's what we do. And then I like read into your energy and I give you little tips and tricks. It's like a mini coaching session.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
It's like so fun.
Well, and that's like so unique because not a lot of people are really helping like fine tune people's abilities and
grow your
confidence, that confirmation and everything. Yeah. Yeah. It is. It's so true. It's like, once you're confident, boom. Yeah. In life, in spirit readings and everything. Changes. It's the key.
Yeah. So come get your secondary validation.
Step right up.
Step right up.
Okay. Well, that was good. That was fun. We didn't write a lot of questions. Fun. Sometimes we have questions. And with this topic, I wrote, do we even need questions for this topic? No, this is our lives. This is our lives.
Yeah. Join us next week, I guess, on All Souls Day. We're going to be talking about sex. We're going to be talking about libido, and we're going to talk about your period. So get excited for that. And we'll see you next week.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.